Sit back, relax, and join William and Lee on their journey through the strange and mysterious world.
And welcome to Strange and Mysterious World, Season 2, Episode 14. Today we're going to be chatting a little bit more about the Jesus' travels, kind of what happened after his death, apparently, according to some people, some myths and theories. And then we're going to be chatting a little bit about angel numbers. That'll be quite interesting. So first off, Jesus and his travels after death, apparently. So, we could actually say it leads from previous week's one, because remember we were speaking about the whole Merovingian line. So, this could be classified as a follow-on.
Yes, and you can say that because I remember in that one he didn't die. So in this one he does die. In this
version,
he does die.
Oh, but how does he die? So he dies in the where? So okay, so are you saying that he dies?
On the cross. So remember, he said he didn't die on the cross last time. It was they staged it for political reasons.
Yeah,
to start the new Christianity thing. But in this one, he actually does die on the cross.
Okay. Who's this book by the way, that you were reading?
Nicholas Notovich.
Isn't he from the 1800s, 1889? I think that book was done.
Yeah, it's quite an old, because he's on horseback and he's on a fucking cart. There's no cars and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, but just for the audience out there, the people that are listening, this whole theory here is not accepted by mainstream. This is just obviously theories that have come on board to kind of explain, because I know that the Muslim people believe as well that Jesus didn't die on the cross. So there's a lot of things out there that people say. There's other theories now to say that what happened if he didn't die on the cross, where did he go and what happened? And there's some evidence to show that Jesus was actually apparently Jesus' tomb is in Kashmir, apparently.
I've been reading this book, The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
By Nicholas Notovich.
Yeah.
And from our last podcast, Jesus didn't die on the cross, according to Holy Grail, Holy Blood, what's it?
Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Holy Grail, the book that we covered then. Yeah. And so, I know I'm a bit of a Jesus streak now, like this is, but just to follow from that one, this book now, which is quite a famous book, is probably the most famous book of the evidence of Jesus being in India. Mm-hmm. And this one, they say that he did die on the cross, because it's the first quarter of the book. He just talks about his travels. He's in India, and like how he killed a panther, and he goes on, he describes the people and the customs and a little bit about the religion of certain areas, and just so it's just kind of like a travel book. Firstly, he arrives in Kashmir, and he hears from this one lama there in a Buddhist monastery that there's this guy named Isa, and the lama explains to him like this guy Isa, and he's very intrigued because he hears it sounds almost like this Jesus character, but he doesn't really take much of it. So he carries on his travels further north up into the Himalayan mountains there, and he's like visiting all these Buddhist monasteries. He's seen all of their traditions and all their ceremonies and everything. He's very curious, and then he asked this one lama there. He asked him, he heard about this guy named Isa. Can you tell me more about it? So then this lama starts telling him, like, we've got all of the right, because in Buddhism, like, if there's someone that's enlightened, then they go and it's all about reincarnation. And then they try and find an enlightened, or the Dalai Lama reincarnate all the time, and they go into it, and then that's the next Dalai Lama. But he says it's the same for enlightened people, like Gautama the Buddha. I mean, because Buddha means only enlightened one. When someone's a Buddha, it's an enlightened person. So Gautama, the guy that everyone thinks that is Buddha, was a Buddha, but his name's Gautama. And then, Jesus was a Buddha. Muhammad, you could say, is a Buddha. Like, everybody that's enlightened is a Buddha. So anyway, so that the Lama says, no, they've got a record of all of the people that have been enlightened. I mean, that the Buddha has reincarnated over the millennia or whatever, and he says that he reincarnated once as this guy named Isa that was in Israel and led the Israelite people. And then he starts going on about and he tells basically the Jesus story, to the T.
That's actually quite interesting.
And he says, no, that he was a Buddha, and they have it in their writings. So he says, can I please see the scrolls or whatever? So he says, he says, well, he doesn't, because there's so many manuscripts in that. He says that he doesn't know where they are, but if you come back, we'll try and find them and you can have a look at them or whatever. So he leaves but he breaks his leg. And then he goes to another monastery that's quite close, and they start, and he's healing there. But he asks the lama there about the same thing, and he says, "Yeah, no, all the lamas know about Isa." And then he gets his manuscripts, and he starts reading the manuscripts of Isa to him while he's sick, and it's exactly the Jesus story. Basically verbatim. And then the lamas say yeah, no, he came, and with those manuscripts, he says that he came to India and he was, and that's where he learned. He was he learned all of the teachings of the Buddhists in Kashmir, and that's where he got all of his knowledge from. And then they go into the scriptures, into the teaching of Buddhism, and they show how it's relates exactly to Christianity, that it's actually a Buddhist teaching. And that's where all of his knowledge came from, was from Buddhism.
Can I stop you there quickly, bud? Okay, so what we're saying then is the missing years of Jesus, which was between the ages of 13 and, what was it, 33? When in the Bible, it kind of doesn't mention much of what actually happened in those years. Is that the case of that he landed up going to India to perhaps the Buddhists, and he was learning all the healing techniques and all the spirituality from Buddhism? Is that what we're saying because obviously then he came back and he must have been teaching the people and healing them from those teachings.
Yes. So that's where he.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's what the book is about.
All right. And then just before you carry on there, now that you mentioned Isa, there's two things that you need to know here. So the 3 wise men that came to the stable were actually from India, apparently. And they named him Isa. And Isa in Sanskrit actually means Lord.
Yes.
And you know who else calls him Isa? The Muslims call Jesus Isa.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, okay, cool. Sorry, carry on there.
Yeah, anyway, so that's all that's basically in the book. I mean, it's nothing. That's basically it.
But that was a young year. So I'm assuming then, obviously, when he came back and he was teaching in then Jordan, Israel. Oh, it wasn't Israel then. Oh, by the way, quickly, just before I carry on that, India is actually mentioned in the Bible, but it wasn't known as India then. It was actually called Hogu. It's in Hebrew. It was called Hogu, Hogu. So it is actually mentioned. But anyway, going back on that. So now I'm trying to put some stuff together. So Jesus grew up his young life. He was in Nazareth, and he kind of attended the temples. Wasn't happy with what was being taught by the rabbis, because he was always arguing with them. If you go back into the younger stories, it was always going on about their teachings that were wrong and all the rest of it. And then he kind of went missing from the later teen years right through till about his 30s. So we're now assuming, again, this is just a theory, we're assuming that he went across to India and he was learning from the Buddhists. There's also some theory that he went across to Egypt as well, and he was learning all the Hermeticism and all that kind of stuff from there as well. So, but who knows? I mean, you're looking at almost 20 years of missing evidence, of missing pieces of his life. So it might have been the fact that he went to both places. He learned the esoteric teachings and the mysticism from the Indians and the Essenes, and also obviously went across to Egypt to learn from them, because I think if you remember back in those days, Egypt was a very well-known spiritual place. So I'm assuming he probably went across there and learned from there as well, came back, did his teachings. If you read the book of Judas Iscariot, there's actually a book that Judas wrote. It was a gospel from Judas. And everybody's been going on about Judas and how bad Judas is, and he was backstabber and blah, blah, blah. You know, if you name your kid Judas, it's like the worst thing in the world. But according to the book of Judas, Jesus actually pulls Judas aside and says to him, listen, you need to betray me. And Judas was like, no, that's not going to happen. He was one of his top followers. He was one of Jesus' main followers. He was like, that was not going to happen. And Jesus said to him, you have to. And he said, no. He said, in order for the prophecy to be fulfilled, you need to betray me. You have to. Otherwise, the prophecy cannot be fulfilled. So then he went out and betrayed him, and then he hung himself, obviously, from the guilt. So that's actually in the book of Judas, if you read. So he was actually told to do it. It wasn't something that came naturally. Because I mean, you must remember now, if you and I are friends, just think of this. And we're good friends. You've got somebody that's like your master, and you've been learning from this person. You're not going to go and backstab, give me the sword.
Well, especially if the person's going to get killed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that the whole story never actually ever made sense to me until I actually read the Judas's version, and then I realized, oh, okay, shit, this is not. So this has been put on. So this now brings me back. What the Gospel of Judas Iscariot?
Yeah.
Judas Iscariot.
He wrote it before he hung himself.
He wrote it. Yeah, it's a whole book, dude. It's about Jesus' life. So there's a lot. There's a book from Mary as well. Mary Magdalene did her own gospel.
Yeah, Gospel of Mary. But the thing is, I mean, like, look, it makes sense in a way that because when we did Holy Blood, Holy Grail, when it was trying to be when the verdict at the end of the book came out that it was actually a staged performance, his whole crucifying, or just so that they could, it was like a propaganda, or not a propaganda thing, it was like a staged thing because it would fulfill the prophecy, and like that's to change it to Christianity or whatever. But then that makes sense, because then maybe that's what if it was a whole stage thing and Jesus was in on the gag, he had to tell Judas, because then has somebody, and that makes like sense. Then he has to tell Judas, you have to betray me now so we can pull this whole thing off, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
But then also it just also makes me wonder, but like, what did where did that book come from? Did Judas really write it? Especially like he's gonna write this whole thing and then go hang himself. It just also, you never know what to believe or what's true, you know?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of stuff. Even when we were chatting to Bart some time back with regards to the whole aliens from Planet X and the angels and demons, and he's going along the whole the biblical things. There's a lot of stuff that don't make sense, and it's also probably the reason why I don't follow it as much as I used to, because there's a lot of stuff there that almost seems like too fantastical for the time. There's things that are left out that don't make sense. And now, for example, if you understand that Judas had to betray Jesus in order for him to become the Messiah, or whatever it is, the Savior, for us, then he had to betray him. Then the story kind of takes a bit of a different turn. But my whole issue with this now is, besides the fact that we mentioned last week with the Gospels all being different stories, one was 3 hours on the cross, one was 6, one was 9 hours. There's a lot of inconsistencies, especially in the New Testament. And I think it might also be because of translation issues and the fact that they've left a lot out. Where they left
stuff out.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff is left out. But my issue now is, say, for example, let's take it on the theory that Jesus never died. The whole put on happened. He left where he was in Nazareth, or wherever he was, Damascus, wherever he was at the time, teaching. He left and he went across to India, and he started teaching in India. Where did he land up? Because how did he land up in Kashmir? What was he teaching? What did he go to Kashmir to do? Was he teaching people there? Did he marry Mary Magdalene? Did they have kids? Is this where now the Merovingian line comes from? Because I think she ended up going to France at some stage after the death, because I think Jesus died.
Okay, so this is what I think happened.
Yeah,
was that being reincarnated as Buddha, the lamas and the Buddhist monks knew that there was going to be a coming of a new enlightened Buddha. So that's where the Magi come in, because it was the Buddhist monks that had to go and find the reincarnation of the new Buddha. So that's where the Magi. So they had to travel to Jerusalem to find Buddha, and that's why they gave him the gold, and they gave him the and all of that, so that he could get well, firstly, that the person at power at that time also made that thing that all the babies must be killed, because like there was going to be coming of a prophet, and then that obviously got him out of Jerusalem, and they went in exile to I think it was, where did he go? Egypt or whatever. So then all the babies got killed. But then the Magi came back when he was around 12 or whatever, and that's when they took him to India because he was old enough to go study all of the stuff there. And then that's when he got taken away. Then he learned everything that he needed to learn in and around India, and then he came back.
Okay, so after the resurrection, Jesus returned to India to die of old age. Jesus was buried in Srinagar, the capital of Jammu and Kashmir, where he continues to be revered as a saintly man. The tomb of Jesus still exists in Kashmir. But then I think there's a tomb of Mary, I think, in Japan, isn't there? Isn't there?
Yeah, because there is a whole bunch of stuff that he went to Ireland, because there's actually and he planted a tree there, and there's a tree there in Ireland with a shrine there of Jesus because he was there. There's also that he went to Japan and he learnt martial arts and learned how to become.
That's it.
You should actually find that story and do that.
So Mary or Jesus was learning martial arts.
He was a ninja. Yeah, that's why he learned all ninja stuff. That's why he could walk on water and like do ninja bombs and just.
Apparently, in northern Japan, there's a tomb of an itinerant shepherd who 2 millennia ago settled down here to grow garlic. He fell in love with a farmer's daughter named Miyuku, fathered 3 kids, and died at a ripe old age of 106. In the mountain hamlet of Shingo, he's remembered by the name of Daiteneku Taru Jurai. The rest of the world knows him as Jesus Christ. Turns out that Jesus is a worker of miracles and spiritual figurehead for the world's foremost religions, did not die on the cross at Calvary as widespread reported, according to the Museum local folklore, that he was the kid brother Isukiri, who severed his ear was
Isu again.
Hey?
There's Isu again.
Yeah, Isukiri was severed ear was interred in an adjacent burial mound in Japan. So I don't know. So according to all these theories now, is that Jesus kind of made his way around the Orient. He was on the Oriental Express, dude.
Yeah. Well, if we could walk on water, maybe he just ran over there. I mean, like you just bilocate.
No, but there's no real evidence of that. It's
about walking on the water.
Eh?
Or being in Japan.
No, I've been in Japan or been even in India. Look, if he died or not, we don't know. That's the only thing. So if he didn't die, where did he go? Because all of a sudden, then, you have the Merovingian story where he ended up going to France, and then the children, or Mary came to France, and that's where the children came from, the Frankish kings, descended from him. And then there's other stories that landed up going to Kashmir. And then there's other stories going that he's landed up in Japan, married a Japanese woman, some farmer's daughter. So I don't know. A lot of theories going on there.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Mr. Prior of Zion would just come out and tell us what happened.
Yeah, I'm still trying to ponder that one. But anyway, we'll have to just see what happens. Angel numbers. I know a little bit about angel numbers, not much. When you start seeing these recurring numbers in your life, and I see 4 all the time.
Well, have you looked it up, what it means?
I haven't. My wife keeps seeing 4 twos. So every time, at night, she'll say, "Hey, check, it's 22 minutes past 10." So 22. She sees that a lot. So we do get recurring numbers quite often. I must be honest.
It's funny you say the 444 one, because that's like how it actually started for me. But and also it's funny you mentioned 444, because this morning when I woke up, I looked at my emails and it was 4444. I had 4,444 unread messages.
4,000 messages.
Fuck. Unread. But it was 4444. It was quad 4. But
okay, stop. Anyway, so look at your time. Look at your time quickly.
Oh my gosh, it is 444. Look at this on the thing. It is
1444.
1444. Oh my gosh, how's that for freaking synchro?
4. Three
Synchronicity there.
fours. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, so this is how it all started for me, right? Well, I'd really been meditating like for ages, and we spoke about our like, well, I spoke about early episode about that journey of my meditation thing. But so I'd been meditating and for a while, and strange things were happening. But I started seeing, every time I looked at my phone, it was 44 minutes past something. It was always like 44 minutes past 10 or 44 minutes past 1, or like a lot of the time. But I didn't even know what angel numbers were. Like I didn't know about angel numbers. I didn't know about the repeating numbers, nothing, right? But it was so funny because I'd always find it so interesting. I'm like, oh wow, look, it's like 44 minutes past again. I'd always be like seeing 44. That's interesting. That's interesting. Then all of a sudden it was 55 minutes past, and like a lot of the time when I look at my phone, it's like 50. But it came with this like sense of like, oh, that's interesting, like
nothing more thought of it. Just as like it's an interesting sort of byproduct.
Yeah. So like so nothing came of it, and I just carried on looking at. But then I just started seeing 444 like all the time, and I was like 444. What the hell's it? Why am I seeing 444 the whole time? So then that's when I like Googled it, and I saw it means like.
Yeah, hold on, before you tell me what it means, the 44 thing, I would not only see on the clock, I would drive past the Oak's house and it was number 44. Or I drive past the building and it's like 444. 444 on Guinea Road. I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on?
No, but that's exactly that's exactly what happened to me with the 444. I mean, it was on like my emails, it was on like the time, it was like on driving past, like seeing numbers on walls, or everywhere I looked, there was always this 444 thing. That's why then I started thinking, okay, well, what's going on here? So then I Googled it, and I saw, but it's irritating because when you Google that, this like, why am I seeing 444? Then you get like 20 different opinions by like spiritual, like people that like have come with some kind of, think they have some kind of authority on this or whatever. But it's always all different.
Yeah,
it's like, but then there'll be like a sort of a common thread between them, like a little one. But then they're always just so vastly different. It's like, oh my gosh, who do you believe? Who? So, and then it's so funny because then you speak to people all this, and they're like, oh, well, let's just go with whatever resonates with you, and like, and then it's like, it could be anything, you know what I mean? It's like, then, obviously I'm going to take the best one. It says like, oh, I'm going to have lots of money and wild, crazy sex or whatever, like, it's like, oh, cool, I'll just take the whatever one I like, like, but the one thing, the thread that did come through, it was like saying, it's like there's angels watching over you, or like with you. You've got guidance with angels. That was the main thing I saw. Okay, so then I started seeing the 55s and the 50, and then 555 kept on coming up so much. 555 everywhere, and then I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So then I Googled that, and then also all the 300 different. And no, I wouldn't say like opinion. Well, they're probably opinions, but like the people that think, they say that this is what it means, but it's actually just an opinion. But there was a thread between all of those that meant the 555 meant that there's going to be big change in your life. So I was like, okay, cool, that's interesting. So I thought nothing of it, and then all of a sudden, this girl came into my life. Right, I started having this relationship with this. God, and just remember, this is after,
not your Japanese friend, eh?
No. So it's but this is like, it was a few years ago. So I already had a daughter with my previous relationship, right? And then that obviously went south. And then so it was like 3 years after that, or 4 years after that. So it's like, the first time I like had an intimate relationship with someone, and I meet this girl. We hadn't had an intimate relationship yet, but I meet this girl, and we're going on like our third date or whatever, and she like parks in front of me at this, where we were going to meet at this coffee shop, and I park behind her, and I look at us, and I'm just like, wow, this is interesting. It's her number plates 555. So we go into the coffee shop, and I say to her, like, this is so interesting. I've been seeing this 555 everywhere, and then you park in front of me, and your number plates got 555 on it. Like, how interesting is that? And she goes, oh, that's interesting. And I say to her, and I'm like, yeah, but every time I look at my clock, it's either something 44 or something 55. And I look at my clock and I say, see, look, it's 12:44. How crazy is that? So like I put the phone down and she goes, oh, this is really weird, whatever. And then we talking. And then at the end, we get the bill and I pick up my phone and like, so I'm just about to pay the bill and I take my phone to pay the bill and I say, look, it's 1:55. It's 1:55. Oh, that's nuts. So like, anyway, then I start having this relationship with this guy and it's like, and I think it's amazing. And I'm really like, like feeling like this is such a great relationship, whatever. And like it was quite an intimate relationship. And like, she would say to me like she's never felt this connected with anybody before. And like I also felt the same.
So you had a good relationship with this girl, and you were probably hoping or expecting that it's going to kind of move on a little bit, to something more serious.
We got close, and it was like, I think it was going to get serious, and I was really enjoying it. I really liked her, and it was I felt quite a strong connection to her. And she would also say that she also felt this great connection with me, and it was like the most connection she's actually ever felt with somebody, and whatever. And that we had this argument. I forgot what it was about. It actually was around my birthday. And then, so we had this argument, and then like a few hours later, whatever, she just sent this message to me, and she sends a message, and she says, "This is not going to work. You don't drink, so and that's boring. I want to go out to wine farms and have fun, and also you're a vegan, which I don't like that, and you meditate too much, and I really don't like that either. And I just don't see this working,
How long were you going out for?
I think it was like about 4 months or something.
Okay. How old is she?
Same age as me.
No, okay. So how many years ago was this?
I think it's about 2.5 years ago.
Okay, so she's like over 45 and she still wants to go around to the wine farms and dope it up, and obviously hasn't moved out from her infancy yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but so it was very hurtful to me. It's funny, Lee. It was probably the most hurtful breakup I've ever had in my life. Like I was fucking it bugged me so much. Like I actually I don't know how much I was going to this thing, because like whenever I speak on this podcast, I talk about how much I fucking cry, and everybody thinks I'm like the biggest fucking
crybaby
on the planet. But anyways, dude, the thing is, like, it hurt me so much. Like I would be fucking weeping. Like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be like weeping, because it's like it was so. And then in the morning, and then I remember like I would go to because I was shooting a film at the time. I wasn't shooting, I was in pre-production, and I'd drive all the way to the meetings in the morning, and I'd be like crying in the car. Then I would be like, fuck, I can't go into this fucking meeting. Like I'm a mess. So I would sit in the parking lot, or I would actually park around the side of the studio, like outside, like by the garage. And I just fucking be like weeping in my car. Then I'm trucking as I walk into the meeting. I have the meeting, and then I'd drive home, and I'd be like fucking crying on the way home. And at night time, I'd be like, it was the weirdest fucking thing I've ever experienced, Lee, because I've had like many, like, not like many relationships, but like quite a few relationships, and like some of them were even long term, like 5 years or whatever. When I broke up with those girls, it was like nothing. Like I never fucking cried, or like maybe like a little bit, or like but I'd never been so hurt in my life. Like, I suppose also when you're in a long-term relationship after 5 years and it's not working, you're just like, for fuck's sake, over. So then obviously you're not going to be crying. You're just like, it's such a relief. But this disturbed me so much for some reason. I don't know what it was. But the thing is, I was also doing a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work and stuff like that. So I think whatever was bubbling to the surface just like erupted out of me.
Yeah.
It just fucking exploded. And I was like in some relationship that, look, it's actually what was really disturbing me is actually that I don't actually love myself enough, and that she was filling this gap, that like I've suddenly felt this love, and it was like such a, and I mean it also could have stemmed from my mother or whatever, like not feeling loved enough by my mother, and it's so like I realized, okay, well I need to love myself more, but during this whole time, okay, well, while this whole turmoil was going on, like of me fucking having uncontrollable crying all the time through like a month. I mean, it went on for like ages. It was like that for a month or like two or whatever. But there's this mountain that I was staying near, Constantia Neck. So I'd drive to Constantia Neck nearly every day, and I'd just walk up to the top of this this mountain, but in a state like I can't believe like how the emotional, just trying to like get rid of this fucking feeling, and I'd be like meditating on top of this mountain, and like I just couldn't get rid of it. And I remember on the one day I came back down the mountain, and I said to myself, okay, you know what? If I must chase after her, then I'll see 555 on the way home on a number plate. But if I'm not meant to chase after her, then I'm just going to leave it. So I drove home, and it's only a 10-minute drive to my house from that mountain. So I'm driving home, and Lee, I don't see one fucking 555 number plate on the way home. I saw 2 555 number plates on the way home. I mean, when in your life do you drive around and you just see a 555 number plate? Like, it's very rare. Now I see 2 on the way home. I see 2 on a 10-minute drive. I see 2 fucking 555 number plates on the way. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to make it right with this girl. I've got to make it right. So I'm like, I'm so like, now I'm trying to like text her, and I'm trying to like say like, you know, like let's get together again. Like, you know, what can we, you know, trying to improve, you know, talk to her, make, you know, adjustments in my life that'll make it better, or whatever, you know, whatever she wants. I'll just like make sacrifices or whatever. So I'm speaking to her. So she says to me, like, look, the one thing I also hated about you is that, well, okay, so just a bit of other backstory is that like I just like 2 or 3 years before that, I was with my ex, my daughter's mother, and we lived in this house together. We both bought this house together. She paid half, I paid half, but I took a bond out on that house. So when I moved out of that, I was living in this tiny little apartment, and I was still paying the bond on that house, and I was paying the rent on this little flat. But I was too embarrassed to bring this girl into this flat, so it would always go to her house because it was so small.
Yeah.
So when I was trying to get back with her now, she said to me, well, firstly, you know, you got to move out of that flat, because if you don't want to take me to your house, then, you know, this is not going to work. And I rightfully so. I mean, it's like such a loser thing. And then she says, secondly, you've got to get your daughter's mother out of your life completely, because she doesn't dig that either. You know, like, because I'm still paying for the bond and everything, and that's so. And I mean, that's rightfully so, because it's also, you know, I can't stand up to my ex, even though we're not even together yet. That because I would always tell my ex, like, I want to sell, you have to buy the other half of my house. And she would always delay it, and she would always make it. But I'd never wanted to stir the pot, because it's like I didn't want any turmoil in my life, because every time I brought it up, it would be like all these fights and everything. And then I'd just leave it, and I'd carry on paying my bond while her and my daughter lived there. So anyway, so then when I got home and I wrote that message to her, and I said, how can we make it right or whatever? Then she said, okay, firstly, you got to move out of your flat. You got to make a bigger flat, and you got to get your ex out of your life. So immediately that day, I just said to my landlord, I said, okay, well, I'm giving a month's notice here, and I'm going to move into I'm giving a month's notice. And then I've also spoke to my daughter's mother, and I said, you are buying the half of the house from me. Like, I don't care. Like, by the end of, I'm giving you 2 months, and then everything must be done, and you must have bought the house, that my half of the house, from me. And obviously that erupted, and there was all this chaos and tension and turmoil. But anyway, I stuck my ground, and she actually eventually bought the house from me. So anyway, then I saw her like once or twice after that girl, and it never actually went any further. And she said, no, actually, she doesn't want to do this anymore anyway. And it was done. But by then, I had moved out of the shitty little apartment. I'd gotten like a really cool flat, like a big one that, you know, my daughter had her own room and everything. And I also got my daughter's mother to buy the flat from me. I mean, buy the other half of the house from me. So like, I'd broken ties completely with my daughter's mother, which was healthy and good. And I'd moved on and gone into a nice flat. So like, my life had changed so exponentially. It like boosted me into this new like plateau of my life, like that I'd moved on completely, where I was stuck, you know, in this misery small hole.
Yeah.
just like feeling sorry for myself, and I was like in this next phase of my life. It was because of that 555 number, because that actually it said
But
big changes were going to happen. And
but
it was sad, but I mean,
it worked out for the best though.
it worked out for the best. But the thing is, it was sad, and but I didn't go on like a 2 month crying spree again. It was either got that out of my system, or that was just something was inside of me that like something had to change, and those 555 numbers were telling me that. And I mean, it was on a flipping car, and then she changed my whole life. My whole life changed so much from that interaction, that relationship. It boosted me into this new level of my whole life. And it was also funny because we had uh Eric on the podcast. Geez, when was it? 2 weeks ago, about holotropic breathing. So I
Yeah.
remember when she broke up with me, and I was going through all that turmoil, all the fucking hysterical crying or whatever. I remember going to Eric, and I went to go because I was going to do, some holotropic breathing to like hopefully release whatever it was in me left of whatever the trauma that I was having. And I'm talking to Erica about it, and I'm saying like, Erica, yes. And the thing is that like, and then I start going to the angel numbers, and I'm like, yeah, but this girl, you don't understand, like it's 555 and it's meant to be. And then I was driving home from the freaking mountain, and there's two cars with 555 number, and every time I look at my phone, it's like in something 55, and then I look at my phone, and there it is. It was like 10:55, and I said, see, Erica, it's 10:55. See, it's fucking 10:55. There it is again.
What did she say?
And then she just was like, oh, okay. But it was funny because at the end of the session, the end of the holotropic session breathing, I was about to leave, and I looked at my phone, and she saw me looking at the phone, and she said, "Yo, what's the number now?" And it was like nine. It was like
908.
fuck, it was 3 hours later, so it was like 10, 11, like 12:27, and she goes, "See, no." I was like, yeah, when you asked me, like, it doesn't.
Now, I think the number appears when you see it. Okay, so let's get into the numbers. Do you actually know what? Have you checked what any of the numbers mean? So if you go on internet,
Yeah.
have
So
you
then I
ever
went
actually
deep dive. Like after that whole experience, I really went into a deep dive into like looking at all of them. But as I say, like there's about 1,000 different opinions, or
Yeah.
people that say that this is the right thing, but they're all different. So like I never know which they really are, what they mean.
All right. Well, let's go through some of the numbers because I do have a couple of them, kind of
Okay.
of the little bit of research that I did. So people that keep seeing ones, but also remember now. So okay, before we get into that, a lot of people see like repetitive numbers, and it's only when you're seeing that repetitive number that the message is trying to come through to you. So it doesn't mean that every single time you look at your watch, it's now going to be 222. Okay.
Yeah.
It just happens to be on a time when you're looking at that there's a 222 or something. That means at that time that there's a message for you. There's something that you need to take that you need to be aware of. Okay. So this is the idea about angel numbers. So 111 basic or not 111, but all ones. If you're seeing ones, basically means new beginnings, leadership, and spirituality. So if you keep seeing ones coming up, then there's something that's going to be happening that's new. So maybe I don't know. So maybe there's somebody's going to get born. There's a new birth somewhere, or you're going to start a new job, or something's new is going to be around you.
But also, Lee, there's also what I come to like realize is that also, I mean, you look at your watch a lot of times during the day, but the thing is when you see I never had this before. It only started happening like during that time or whatever. But like when I look at my number, and it's like this, almost like there's a like. It somehow rings some significance to you. So like I look at my number, just say if I look at the watch 4 times, maybe like 10 times during the day, maybe only 4 of those times would have been like
100%.
But for some reason it's like, why does that? It suddenly becomes significant.
Yeah,
it's like your intuition is saying there's something important about this number.
Yes, but it's not only your watch
standing out more to you.
Yeah,
stands
correct.
out more.
It's not only your watch. It's like you said, all of a sudden, like we looked earlier down, we were talking about it. We were talking about 4s, and we had a look at the time, and it happened to be 3 4s.
It's pretty nuts. I love that.
There was that. And then there was when we were driving, I mean, if you're driving around, all of a sudden you're looking for an address you can't see, and then you see like 2 4s. You know what I mean? So it's not like you taking note of every single number you're looking at, but there does seem to be certain numbers that creep up at certain times that there's a lot of, that's almost like there's something trying to give you a message.
It's so funny that you're mentioning this now, but I was actually driving because I've been I have to move out of this flat that I'm in now, and I'm trying to find a new flat. So I'm like driving around to all of these places in the last week, like to look for a place to rent, and I'm going for a place where I can't make up my mind which ones to take, and eventually I say like, I wish I could just see like an angel number, like when I'm at the house, to just tell me that this is the right place that I need to take. And then guess what happened? When I arrived at the next place, there was a car parked outside. I'm not even shitting you. I wish I took a picture. But there's a car parked outside the place where I went to go look. It had 555 on the number plate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So I go into this place, and I really liked it a lot. I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so amazing. But I really didn't like the kitchen and the bathroom, because you had to like walk out of the kitchen. It was a weird way to get to the bathroom, and it was wasn't so cool. So but I really felt good in the big space there. But I didn't take that place. I've taken another place.
Yeah.
But now I'm always like, now I'm thinking like, but there was an angel number outside that house. Maybe that I needed to take that, and maybe that would have been the right one, and something would have.
I'll tell you what 555. I'll tell you what your fives mean. No, we'll get.
But anyway, okay. So like that. So then, but now, because now I'm like into this whole belief system, or like whatever this, like, or call it a superstition or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I didn't take that house, and I should have, because I was guided to take that house, but now I didn't. So now I've gone against it. So it's weird. It's like it's irritating. But anyway, okay, so tell us what all of them mean.
Okay, and then obviously the twos. When you're seeing a lot of twos, that basically is a spirit message that says that you're on the right path and that you're in harmony. So everything's as it needs to be when you see the constant twos. When you're seeing a lot of the threes, it basically means liberation and success. When you're seeing constant fours, this is now my one where I just see constantly fours. It basically means that you need to pursue your dreams, as all your hard work is about to pay off. Your one, the fives. All desires and dreams and ambitions are about to come into your life. So your desire was to find a home. So you saw the number. That's your desire, to find a home. It doesn't mean you had to take that specific place. It was just a number showing you that this is your desire to take to find a place, and you have. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the place you should have taken. It's just showing you. It's a number to show you, yes, you're on the path to find. That's your desire to find a place. That's the desire.
Okay, nothing much change.
Okay. And number 6. If you're seeing sixes, it basically says embrace your authentic self, own your unique gifts and abilities. If you're seeing sevens, take risks and go after your desires, because luck is on your side. I must say I've never seen sevens ever. If you're seeing eights, I'm not sure. Eights, you wouldn't really see too much eights in time. I think with time-wise, you might get up to fives, because there's no. When you get to 60, it becomes naught again. You know what I mean? Like, especially on time. So I think for time-wise, you'd be going from 1 through to 5.
You don't get the 8s and the 9s.
Yeah. So 6s and 7s you wouldn't get unless it's like 57, but you wouldn't get like 7-7. You would have like 1-7.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing like 7s, so these other ones, 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s doesn't really necessarily revolve around time, because you don't get that in time. You would see those like you said, emails, or you're seeing it on vehicles, registration numbers. So if you're seeing 8s, it's an abundance and positive change are set to flow your way. And if you're seeing 9s, something's coming to an end. If you're seeing 9s. So that's like, obviously that's like we said earlier, those are the opinions.
What's the 9? Sorry, break up. What is the 9?
9s basically means something is coming to an end. So it could be relationship, could be work, could be, whatever. Could be something, but it's coming to an end. Maybe you got some cuck luck. That cuck luck is coming to an end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't always see the worst.
It's so funny, because like now I see those triple numbers or quad numbers everywhere. I mean, but not just the 4s or the 5s anymore. I see the whole range from 1 to 9 all the time. Every single one of them all the time. But it's like, but now I'm just like, I don't know if I just got like obsessed. So like now I'm like looking to see them, you know? It's not like I'm just like chilling out and I see it and I'm, oh, that's interesting. Now it's like, so it's a bit like,
Now you're obsessive. You're trying to make a connection.
yeah, so that's why I said I think it's lost the meaning for me a bit because like now it's like I'm like always looking for it, but
Yeah.
it's a bit of a bummer, but I got to just chill out.
But anyway, guys,
Okay.
yeah, thanks for listening again to this week, and we will chat to you guys next week. Thanks again for listening, guys, and thanks again, Will.
Cool, man.